Ever look at the world map and wonder why countries are constantly teaming up, forming these powerful blocks? It's a huge deal, and it's called regional integration. Today, we're going to dive into what it is, how it works, and why it's quietly reshaping our entire world. Let's jump in.
So, what's the big idea? Well, we're living in a world with massive economic giants and, challenges that are way too big for any one country to handle alone. Think about climate change or global financial meltdowns. So nations are all asking themselves the same tough question. Do we try to go it alone, or do we team up with our neighbors?
Let me break it down with the simple analogy. Just think about your own neighborhood. You've got neighbors who just give a friendly wave, right? That's kind of like basic diplomacy. Then you have some who form a neighborhood watch. They're cooperating on security. But then you have the ones who go all in. They tear down the fences, build a swimming pool together, and basically merge their backyards. That's regional integration in a nutshell.
All right, so here's the more official take. Regional integration is just a process where countries in the same neck of the woods decide to knock down the walls between them. Barriers that stop products, people, and money from moving around freely. And why do they do this? At the end of the day, it's all about boosting trade, creating more jobs, and hopefully raising the standard of living for everyone.
So, how does this actually happen? I mean, it's not like countries just wake up one morning and decide, hey, let's share a currency. No, it's a slow, deliberate process. You can think of it like climbing a ladder, one rung at a time.
This visual here lays it out perfectly. It's kind of like a set of nesting dolls. You start on the outside with these looser, simpler agreements. But as trust builds and things go well, you move deeper and deeper towards the center, where the integration gets much tighter. And here's the crucial part. Every single step you take inward means giving up a little bit of your own national control in exchange for a bigger piece of the collective pie.
Okay, so let's walk up this ladder. The first step is a free trade area. This is where member countries agree to scrap tariffs on each other's stuff. Think of the US-Mexico-Canada agreement. Take one more step up and you're at a customs union. Now, not only are there no internal tariffs, but everyone agrees to the same tariffs for countries on the outside. Then you get to the common market, and this is a huge leap. Now, it's not just goods, but people, services, and money can move around freely. And at the very top, you get the whole shebang, an economic union, where members might even share a single currency, like the euro.
So to really see this ladder in action, we have to look at the big one. I mean, the most ambitious, most deeply integrated project of its kind on the entire planet, the European Union.
And wow, what a journey it's been. This wasn't a sprint, it was a total marathon. It all started way back in 1951, literally from the ashes of World War II. The idea was incredible. Let's put coal and steel, the very ingredients of war, under shared control. Why? To make another war materially impossible. From that one powerful, practical step, it just grew and grew for decades, all leading up to the launch of the euro in 1999.
And you just can't argue with the results. I mean, we're talking about an unprecedented period of peace on a continent that was famous for its constant wars. It created this massive single market, turning a patchwork of economies into a global powerhouse. And of course, the euro, one of the most important currencies on Earth. It really is the gold standard for regional integration.
But here's the thing. Not every region can, or even wants to, follow the EU's exact playbook. So now let's shift gears and head over to Africa, where the road to integration has been shaped by a totally different history and a really unique set of challenges.
You see this phrase on the screen, the Dictators Club. Oof, that's a pretty brutal nickname, right? Well, that's what critics often call the predecessor to the African Union, an organization called the OAU. And the reason why all comes down to one of its founding principles.
So the old organization, the OAU, was built on this ironclad rule of non-interference. What that meant was, no matter what a leader was doing to their own people, coups, civil wars, you name it, other countries were forbidden from getting involved. But when the African Union, or AU, was formed in 2002, they flipped the script completely. They adopted a new principle, non-indifference. This gave the AU the right to step in to stop the absolute worst atrocities, like genocide. This wasn't just a small change, it was a complete philosophical 180.
And just look at this map for a second. The sheer scale of what the AU is trying to accomplish is just, well, it's mind-boggling. We're talking 55 member states, a whole continent buzzing with incredible diversity. Trying to coordinate policy across an area that vast is a totally different ballgame than what the early European pioneers faced. The scale itself is just a massive challenge.
And as you might imagine, those challenges are persistent.
There's a long history of personal rule on the continent, which makes it really hard to convince powerful leaders to share their power with some bigger organization. The AU has also gotten flack for being too slow to react to major crises, and on top of all that, it struggles with funding, which really limits its ability to act on its own.
Okay, so we've looked at two very different stories, right? Europe and Africa. But let's zoom out. What's the big takeaway here? Why does any of this stuff actually matter to us today?
This quote here from Kenichi Omai really nails it. What he's basically saying is that in our super-connected world, the old-fashioned idea of a single country just doing its own thing, it's becoming obsolete. He argues that these regional groups, these blocs, are the real engines of power and prosperity now.
And you know, all of this really boils down to one fundamental trade-off. On one side, you've got national sovereignty. That's the power of a country to call its own shots, control its own destiny. But on the other side, you've got collective power, the incredible strength, security, and economic muscle you get from teaming up. Every single step up that ladder of integration means trading a little bit of that sovereignty for a lot more of that collective power.
And that leaves us with one final and I think really crucial question. In a world that's more and more defined by these massive economic giants and planet-sized problems, is going it alone, no matter how proud or independent your nation is, even an option anymore? Something to think about.